Rebecca Thompson's remarks left me speechless. On the other end of the phone, I could hear her satisfied laughter echoing through the speaker. My hand trembled slightly as I held my phone, staring at the departing flight schedule board in the bustling airport terminal. After the call ended, her phone went straight to voicemail. She had planned this betrayal from the start, but what Rebecca didn't know was that Nathan, the CEO of the client company, was my brother. I took a deep breath, steadying myself as I added my name to the standby list for the next available flight. I've tolerated her subtle workplace harassment until now, but this crossed a line. It was time for Rebecca to face reality. I'm Emily Chen, and I work in medical device sales. My journey here wasn't traditional. I spent 3 years as a nurse before transitioning into sales. That hands-on experience has proven invaluable. My proposals consistently receive high praise, and I maintain the highest sales performance in our division. My colleagues often call me the ace of the department, not just for my numbers, but because I truly understand our product's impact on patient care. The path wasn't always smooth, especially at the beginning. Fresh out of nursing school, which I left before completion, I made plenty of mistakes. Some clients were unhappy with my limited product knowledge, and negotiations often fell through. Looking back, I relied too heavily on just being personable, trying to secure contracts without truly understanding the technical aspects of our medical devices. I decided to leave nursing school for a reason that still affects me today. Growing up, I was constantly compared to my brother Nathan. He came into our family as an adopted child when I was young, and despite our different backgrounds, he excelled at everything. No matter how hard I studied, I could never match his academic achievements. Every time my parents praised his accomplishments, I felt their unspoken disappointment in me. My days were filled with tutoring sessions and study groups, leaving no time for anything else. Yet when the SATs came around, I barely managed to score 600, while Nathan effortlessly achieved nearly perfect marks, securing admission to a prestigious university. Early career reflections. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't match Nathan's achievements. My parents' expectations weighed heavily on me, though they never said it directly. Their proud smiles at his academic awards spoke volumes about their hopes for me. Eventually, my frustration with studying reached a breaking point. If I couldn't meet their standards, despite giving it my all, what was the point? That's when I decided to pursue nursing, a practical career where I could make a real difference. At first, I thought leaving academics behind would free me from constant learning, but working in healthcare taught me otherwise. The turning point came during my time as a nurse, when I helped a patient choose medical equipment that better suited their needs than what was initially prescribed. The genuine gratitude in their eyes when they realized how much easier their recovery would be. That moment changed everything for me. For the first time, I understood that learning wasn't about competing with Nathan or meeting my parents' expectations. It was about making a real difference in people's lives. That realization drove me to study harder than ever before, but this time with purpose. I immersed myself in understanding medical devices, their technical specifications, and most importantly, their practical applications in patient care. My current sales performance isn't just about numbers. It's the result of combining my nursing experience with deep product knowledge. However, success often attracts unwanted attention. 6 months ago, that's when Rebecca Thompson entered the picture. She joined our company 6 months ago, bringing an impressive marketing background from a major pharmaceutical company. At 30, she carried herself with the polished confidence of someone who had graduated from an elite business school. When she was assigned as my trainee, I was initially excited to share my knowledge. Welcome to the team, Rebecca. I'm Emily Chen, and I'll be handling your training. Please feel free to ask me anything about our products or sales approach. Her response caught me off guard. Really? You're my trainer? She gave me a measured look, her eyes flickering to my employee badge. I assumed someone with more traditional credentials would be handling the orientation. The slight emphasis on traditional made her meaning clear. My lack of a college degree had already been noted. Training period. Looking back, I should have recognized Rebecca's condescension as a warning sign, but I was determined to stay professional. She was assigned as my trainee, and I had a responsibility to train her properly. I meticulously walked her through our processes, including my practice of adding personalized notes to each shipment of medical equipment. Emily, are you seriously still handwriting thank you notes? That's so inefficient, Rebecca interrupted during one training session, her designer glasses perched on the edge of her nose. In my previous company, we automated all customer communications. This kind of old-school approach is exactly why healthcare sales needs modernization. I maintained my composure, though her words stung. Actually, Rebecca, these notes serve a purpose. When you're dealing with medical professionals who make life-changing decisions about equipment, personal connection matters. Yes, some might discard the note, but others appreciate knowing there's a real person who understands their needs. Rebecca's response was a dismissive wave. The highest-rated medical devices sell themselves. You're overthinking this. Any competent MBA would tell you to focus on market penetration, not writing notes like a kindergarten teacher. Her comment about MBAs was clearly meant to highlight our educational differences, but I stood firm in my approach. When recommending medical devices, understanding the specific needs of each healthcare facility is crucial. For instance, if a hospital needs equipment for their geriatric ward, pushing the latest high-tech device just because it's popular might not be the best solution. Sometimes, a more straightforward, user-friendly option better serves both the staff and patients. This patient-centered approach has always been my style. Yes, it takes more time to understand each facility's unique challenges and adjust recommendations accordingly, but it leads to better outcomes for everyone involved. Rebecca might have seen it as inefficient, but I didn't think it deserved her mockery. 1 month later, the monthly sales results came in, and I had maintained my position as top performer. The conference room erupted in applause, everyone except Rebecca. I caught her reflection in the glass wall, her carefully manicured nails digging into her palm as she forced a tight smile. That's when everything changed. Her subtle jabs became more pointed, her attitude more hostile. Must be nice having all that nursing experience to fall back on, she'd say within earshot of others. Though I suppose some people need that crutch when they lack formal business education. Escalating harassment. Rebecca's training period lasted only a month, but her hostility persisted long after. At first, it was subtle, the kind of things that made you question your own sanity. My product documentation would vanish from the shared drive. Appointment notifications would mysteriously disappear from my calendar. I initially chalked it up to technical glitches or my own forgetfulness, but when I discovered all my scheduled client follow-ups had been deleted from our medical sales tracking system, I knew something was wrong. The harassment escalated. Important emails from hospitals about equipment specifications would end up in the trash before I could read them. During critical calls with medical administrators, the line would suddenly go dead. I couldn't prove anything until one day, during a consultation with a major hospital's purchasing director, I caught Rebecca in the act. As I frantically searched for the source of the disconnection, I spotted her standing by the server room, holding an unplugged Ethernet cable with a self-satisfied smirk. Her designer blazer seemed at odds with such a petty act of sabotage. "Rebecca, this has to stop," I confronted her, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "These calls aren't just about sales. They're about getting essential medical equipment to hospitals that need them." She looked up at me with calculated innocence, her perfectly styled hair barely moving as she tilted her head. Do you have any proof? Any evidence that I did anything? Your paranoia is showing, Emily. Maybe the stress of this job is too much for someone with your background. I stood there, momentarily speechless. Yes, I had seen her with the cable, but proving it was another matter. Her triumphant smile told me she knew exactly what she was doing. See? No proof. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Just because you played nurse for a few years doesn't mean you belong in corporate sales. For the trouble you've caused me, I think some compensation is in order. Before I could react, she reached into my bag, pulled out my wallet, and extracted several $100 bills. Consider this a lesson in business economics, she smirked, tucking the money into her designer purse. Keep quiet, and we'll call it professional development tuition. Seeking help. The theft was the last straw. I took my concerns to Director Davis, my immediate supervisor, but without concrete evidence, his hands were tied. Emily, I understand you're frustrated, but without proof of malicious intent, these could all be explained as simple mistakes or misunderstandings, he explained, looking uncomfortable behind his desk. I'll speak to Rebecca about being more careful with shared resources, but that's about all I can do officially. Even after that conversation, Rebecca's behavior only worsened. She seemed emboldened by the lack of consequences. Each day became a battle of endurance. I had to develop new strategies just to do my basic job functions. I started backing up all my files religiously, taking screenshots of my calendar entries, and routing important communications directly to my personal phone. To protect my client relationships, I began telling hospitals to email me directly for non-urgent matters, explaining that we were upgrading our phone systems. It wasn't ideal. Many medical administrators preferred quick phone consultations, but it was better than having calls mysteriously disconnected during crucial discussions about equipment specifications. The shredded documents became a daily treasure hunt. I found myself digging through the recycling bin multiple times a day, piecing together torn fragments of important medical equipment orders and client correspondence. It was humiliating, but losing a hospital's trust by missing their equipment requests would be far worse. In healthcare sales, trust isn't just about business. It's about ensuring hospitals get the tools they need to save lives. A major opportunity. Then came the breakthrough I'd been hoping for. Our company received an inquiry from one of the largest medical device manufacturers in the country. If we secured this contract, we were looking at a $5 million deal for specialized equipment. This wasn't just about hitting sales targets. This deal could put me on the fast track for promotion. I should have known better than to let my guard down, but when Rebecca volunteered to assist with the project, I tried to be optimistic. Surely, even she would act professionally with such a significant client. Director Davis, impressed by her enthusiasm and MBA credentials, assigned her as my support staff. The sabotage begins. My optimism was misplaced. Instead of supporting the project, Rebecca immediately tried to undermine it. Without consulting me, she sent the client materials for entirely different medical equipment than what they had inquired about. Thankfully, a colleague in the processing department noticed and warned me immediately. I quickly contacted the client's procurement team, smoothly incorporating the unexpected materials into our discussion. I noticed you received some additional product information, I said, carefully navigating the situation. While that particular line of equipment has different applications, let me explain how our specialized devices better align with your facility's needs. Drawing on my nursing background, I walked them through the practical differences between the equipment, explaining how each would actually function in their daily operations. The procurement team appreciated this detailed, hands-on perspective. We scheduled an in-depth consultation to discuss their specific requirements. The presentation. During our meeting, I didn't just present products. I shared real scenarios from my healthcare experience. I explained how certain features could improve patient outcomes and make staff workflows more efficient. The client team was particularly engaged when I described specific cases where the right equipment made a crucial difference in patient care. This approach resonated with them. They could see I understood both the technical specifications and the practical applications in a medical setting. We narrowed down their options to 3 models that best suited their needs, and they agreed to discuss these choices with their executive team. The contract. 2 days later, they confirmed their decision to move forward with one of the recommended devices. The purchase order came to $5 million, a significant victory for our company. Well, Rebecca sauntered over to my desk, her designer heels clicking against the floor. They must have loved the product materials I sent. Let me see that quote. She snatched the document from my hands, her smug expression freezing as she read the details. Of course, she was shocked. The equipment they chose wasn't anything like what she had promoted. Her suggestions, while technically advanced, hadn't aligned with their practical needs. It was like recommending a sports car to someone who needed a reliable ambulance. Impressive specs, but wrong for the purpose. The setup. Rebecca, could you handle the flight bookings? We need to meet the client in person in 2 weeks to finalize everything. I was trying to extend an olive branch to show we could work together professionally despite our past conflicts. Her sudden bright smile should have warned me, but I was focused on the upcoming meeting. 2 weeks later, I found myself stranded at the airport. The meeting was scheduled for 1 o'clock, requiring a 3-hour flight each way. I had planned to meet Rebecca directly at the airport rather than going to the office first. Standing at the check-in counter, watching minutes tick away, I kept calling her number. After 15 increasingly anxious minutes, I approached the airline staff to explain my situation. That's when I discovered the cruel truth. There was no ticket reserved in my name. Only Rebecca's booking existed in the system. My hands shook slightly as I dialed her number one more time. This time, she answered. Oh, sorry. I was just going through security. Couldn't answer earlier. Her voice dripped with false sweetness. Rebecca, there's no reservation under my name. What's going on? I tried to keep my voice steady, but anger and panic were creeping in. Her laugh cut through the phone like ice. Today is a $5 million deal. Should I bring someone with just nursing experience to such an important meeting? I think not. The revelation. As her words sank in, I could hear her delighted laughter on the other end before the line went dead. Her phone was now turned off, making it impossible to reach her. She had orchestrated this entire situation, but there was something critical Rebecca didn't know. Nathan Chen, the CEO of the client company, was my adopted brother. I quickly added myself to the standby list for the next flight and called Nathan. I had tolerated Rebecca's petty harassment until now, drawing on the patience I'd learned during my years in nursing. But this wasn't about me anymore. This was about a critical business relationship and professional integrity. The confrontation. Both the next flight and the following one were completely booked. I found myself stuck at the airport, watching the clock inch toward 1 o'clock, the scheduled meeting time. Barely 15 minutes had passed when my phone lit up with an incoming call. The caller ID showed NC. The call was coming much sooner than I'd anticipated. Fighting back a knowing smile, I answered. Hello? You're asking where I am? Well, I'm exactly where you'd expect. Still at the airport. I kept my voice deliberately calm. Since you didn't book my ticket, Rebecca. There was a moment of stunned silence on the other end. Then I heard her voice, tight with panic. Just get here now. The CEO says if you don't show up, the deal is off. Her composed facade was cracking. In the background, I could hear Nathan's stern voice, though I couldn't make out his words. Suddenly, a video call request popped up on my screen. Nathan had obviously instructed her to switch to video. Following our plan, I accepted. Rebecca's face appeared on my screen, noticeably paler than usual. Her perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide her growing anxiety. The CEO and Director Davis, why are they both with you at the airport? Her confusion was evident as she looked between the faces on her screen. The answer was simple. I had called them. What Rebecca didn't realize was that my connection to this situation went far deeper than she knew. The company I work for is part of a larger medical equipment conglomerate founded by my great-grandfather. What began as a small medical supply store has evolved into a diverse healthcare corporation with numerous subsidiaries. Our current CEO is my uncle, my father's younger brother. Family history. My great-grandfather was a visionary in the medical field, establishing various healthcare-related businesses. Nathan, despite our family's legacy, chose to build his own path. In just a decade, he established one of the leading medical device manufacturing companies in the country. Growing up, people often called him a prodigy, comparing him to our great-grandfather. Now I understood why I had always felt inadequate in comparison. The aftermath. After Rebecca abandoned me at the airport, I made 3 crucial calls. One to Nathan, my brother, and the client CEO, one to my uncle, our company CEO, and one to Director Davis. When a $5 million medical equipment deal was at stake, proper protocol demanded reporting any complications. I contacted my uncle first, knowing this situation would significantly impact our company's reputation in the medical device industry. Calling someone's sister trash and questioning her medical expertise is quite disrespectful. Nathan's voice carried barely contained anger through the video call. My sister, the one you dismissed, actually understands the practical needs of medical facilities. Rebecca blinked in surprise, still not grasping the gravity of the situation. Her face brightened as she launched into her pitch. Oh, I see. You were favoring her because she's your sister. But that's not good business practice, Nathan. Look, I brought a proposal for our latest premium line. It's much more prestigious than what that ex-nurse suggested. Enough. Nathan's sharp command cut through her sales pitch. We received unsolicited materials for products that didn't meet our specifications. That was your doing, wasn't it? Our procurement team was confused, knowing the account manager wouldn't make such an oversight. Now I understand why. But these are our most advanced models. They're what every major hospital wants. Advanced features mean nothing if they don't address our specific needs. Nathan interrupted. My sister took the time to understand our requirements, explaining both benefits and limitations of each option. We chose to work with your company because she demonstrated genuine understanding of medical environments. If you're planning to replace her with someone who only pushes premium products without considering practical applications, we'll terminate this contract immediately. My heart swelled hearing Nathan defend my work. Throughout our childhood, I'd felt overshadowed by his achievements, never realizing he respected my practical healthcare experience and understanding. At the office, I take full responsibility for this oversight. Director Davis intervened. We have no intention of reassigning this account. Please allow us to reschedule with Emily as the lead representative. The relief in his voice was palpable as Nathan accepted this solution. Rebecca returned to the office after hours, looking disheveled, a stark contrast to her usually polished appearance. She entered the sales floor where Director Davis and I were awaiting. The confident swagger she typically carried was gone, replaced by exhaustion and fear. Explain yourself, Director Davis demanded, his voice hard with anger. Sir, this is all a setup. Rebecca's voice took on a pleading tone as she moved closer to him. Emily orchestrated this whole thing. She pressed against his arm, looking up with carefully practiced vulnerability. The director's expression flickered momentarily. Rebecca shot me a quick, triumphant smirk before continuing her performance. The truth is, Emily ordered me to go alone today. When I reminded her that she was the account manager, she threatened to make my life miserable until I quit if I didn't comply. Is there any truth to this? Director Davis looked between us, his earlier certainty wavering. Absolutely not, I stated firmly, maintaining my composure. In fact, I've been the target of Rebecca's systematic harassment for months. You're making baseless accusations. Rebecca's voice rose shrilly. Where's your proof? Her smirk returned, probably thinking she had me cornered again. I smiled back calmly. The evidence. Actually, I do have proof. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from this morning's airport conversation. Rebecca's voice filled the room. Today is a $5 million deal. Should I bring someone with just nursing experience to such an important meeting? The unraveling. So it was you all along. Director Davis's face darkened with anger. That recording is fake. Rebecca's composed facade cracked. She doctored it. Is this fabricated too? I continued playing more recordings, a collection of her daily harassment, her disparaging comments about my nursing background, her threats. Each clip made Director Davis's frown deepen. And there's more, I continued calmly. The deleted documents from our shared drives, the erased scheduling appointments, the missing client communications. Every system access is logged on our medical equipment sales platform. The timestamps will show exactly who accessed and deleted what. What? Nobody told me about the tracking system. Rebecca's face went pale, her designer scarf suddenly askew as she stumbled backward. Your MBA didn't cover IT security protocols? Director Davis's voice dripped with sarcasm. Every action in our medical records system is tracked. It's a regulatory requirement in the healthcare industry. Something you might have known if you'd paid attention during compliance training. No, wait. I can explain. Rebecca's carefully constructed professional image crumbled. This is all a misunderstanding. The company CEO's voice cut through her protests via the conference call. That's enough. We'll conduct a thorough investigation of all system logs. Rebecca, you're suspended effective immediately. Do not return to the office until further notice. The aftermath. You can't do this. Rebecca's voice cracked with desperation. My career in medical sales. But the decision was final. For someone who had built her identity around her elite education and corporate success, this suspension was devastating. The next day, despite explicit instructions to stay home, Rebecca appeared at the office. Security had to escort her out. Director Davis informed her that any further violations would result in immediate termination. She left in tears, her designer heels clicking unevenly on the pavement. Final confrontation. That evening, I was called to a meeting with our CEO. In his office, Director Davis stood grimly watching a video conference screen. To my shock, both Nathan and Rebecca were on the call. Emily, Rebecca claims you sent her to meet with me directly. Is this true? Nathan's voice was carefully controlled. What? Why would I do that? I was genuinely confused. Nathan sighed and explained what had happened. After being sent home, Rebecca had made a desperate attempt to salvage her career. She'd gone straight to Nathan's company, bypassing all protocols to demand a meeting with the CEO. Because she mentioned our company name, Nathan initially thought I had sent her to apologize and allowed her in. Once in his office, Rebecca launched into an aggressive sales pitch for the same premium equipment that had already been rejected, completely ignoring yesterday's disaster. When Nathan tried to end the meeting, she became inappropriate, attempting to use her charm to force a contract signing. Are you mocking our entire procurement process? Nathan's fury had prompted him to call our CEO immediately. Rebecca, caught between three angry executives, desperately claimed I had ordered her to use any means necessary to secure the contract. That's absurd, I responded firmly. After yesterday's agreement to reschedule with proper representation, sending the person who caused the problem alone would make no sense. It would only damage our company's reputation further. Exactly my thoughts, Nathan replied. Given this repeated disrespect for our company and proper business protocols, I cannot overlook this incident. The consequences. What would you like us to do, Mr. Chen? I addressed Nathan formally, acknowledging the professional nature of this situation. Nathan's expression was stern. Our company cannot maintain a business relationship with someone who repeatedly disrupts professional protocols, fails to understand medical facility needs, and deflects responsibility onto others. Such behavior is unacceptable in both professional and personal contexts. Are you requesting Rebecca's termination? The question hung heavy in the air. Nathan nodded solemnly. No, please. Anything but that. Rebecca's carefully maintained composure shattered. Her face had lost its usual polish, panic evident in her eyes. I was wrong. I apologize. I won't mock your nursing background anymore. I'll stop deleting your files, erasing your schedules, and shredding your medical equipment orders. Please help me. Nathan, you're her brother, right? Ask him to forgive me for your family's sake. The desperation in her voice almost made me pity her. Almost. After months of enduring her subtle attacks on my professional experience and background, I felt nothing but exhaustion. No, I replied simply. On the screen, Rebecca crumpled, her designer outfit wrinkled as she slid to the floor. Director Davis had to help her up, but it was already over. That same day, our CEO decided immediate action was necessary. He couldn't risk her causing more damage, even during a standard notice period. The aftermath. The next day, Rebecca was terminated before completing her probationary period. Additionally, the company pursued legal action for the damages caused by her harassment. Her actions had disrupted normal business operations and jeopardized multiple medical equipment contracts. The terms of our deal with Nathan's company would need significant revision to compensate for the complications she'd caused. Even her unauthorized visit to Nathan's company would be added to her expenses. The ripple effect. Moreover, our CEO's influence in the medical device industry meant Rebecca's career options would be severely limited. The Vestal Medical Group, our parent company, has connections throughout the healthcare sector, from hospital equipment to pharmaceutical supplies. Finding employment in the medical sales field without crossing paths with our network would be nearly impossible. Who would risk hiring someone who had antagonized one of the industry's leading families? Rebecca faced a future of significant debt with severely limited career prospects. Epilogue. After Rebecca's departure, my work life returned to its normal rhythm. Having my expertise acknowledged by Nathan, whom I'd always seen as impossibly perfect, gave me a new sense of confidence in my role. This shift must have been noticeable. A long-term client at a local hospital commented, "You've always been reliable, Emily, but lately there's an added assurance in your recommendations." My sales performance continued to improve, setting me on track for my best year yet. The experience brought unexpected personal growth, too. For the first time since starting my career, I felt ready to visit my family. I had avoided our family gatherings since leaving nursing school, haunted by feelings of inadequacy compared to Nathan's achievements. But this Thanksgiving, something felt different. Maybe it was time to share my professional journey with them, how my incomplete nursing education had actually become my greatest strength in medical device sales. As I thought about the upcoming holiday, I felt a mix of nervousness and hope. Would my parents understand that I'd found my own path to success? It might not have been as direct as Nathan's route, but I was making a real difference in healthcare, just in a different way. Looking at my calendar, I smiled at the thought of Thanksgiving dinner. For the first time in years, I was actually looking forward to it.